At a time now distant, yet close to the heart of humanity, men and women lived as one. Their roles were distinct, yet their purpose was shared. They were two hands on the same body, working in perfect harmony. But slowly, a shadow began to fall. Under the shade of that great tree, the men would gather, their chests puffed with pride. "We build," they'd say. "We protect, we lead. Without us, this village would surely crumble." Their voices, deep and sure, would echo with agreement. Down by the river, where the water flowed clear and cool, the women would gather, with children playing at their feet and pots ready for the evening meal. They just spoke of their importance. "We give life," they whispered. Their words a gentle but firm current. "We raise the future generations. We heal the sick. Without us, there is no future." And the river seemed to murmur in assent. Pride, like a slow-growing weed, began to choke the roots of understanding. Listening was replaced by speaking over one another at village meetings. The men's voices grew louder, drowning out the women until they fell silent. Their wisdom unheard, and so the unity that had bound them began to crack. One fateful morning, a decision was made not with words, but with footsteps. The men, shouldering their tools and weapons, turned their backs on the rising sun and walked west. The women, gathering their children in baskets, walked east toward the dawn. They chose separation, each believing they were strong enough, complete enough, to survive alone. The village, once a vibrant heart, was split in two. The men built a new settlement. The houses were strong, the walls thick, but the interiors were hollow and empty. There was no laughter to fill the spaces, only the cries of hungry, neglected children. The men, builders and protectors, sat exhausted, their strength serving no purpose without the warmth of a home. The settlement was a body without a soul. Meanwhile, under the vast, star-filled sky, the women struggled in their own settlement. The fires flickered weakly against the encroaching darkness. They were nurturers and healers, but the work of building, of defending, was heavy and unfamiliar. In the shadows just beyond the firelight, the eyes of predators gleamed. Fear, cold and sharp, took root in their hearts. Their community was a heart without a shield. Then the land itself began to reflect their division. The sun beat down mercilessly, cracking the earth. The crops withered on their stalks, and the once mighty river shrank to a desperate trickle. In both settlements, children lay weak, the laughter silenced by hunger and thirst. The lesson was brutal and clear. Strength without care will always fail, and care without strength will inevitably collapse. The earth mourned their separation, and it seemed as though all hope was lost, just as the darkness seemed absolute. A sound broke the dawn, boom, 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 from the center of the old, abandoned village. An elder stood alone, beating a talking drum. The ancient rhythm echoed across the dry savanna, a lonely heartbeat calling out to the scattered pieces of its body. The sound traveled on the wind, reaching the men in their hollow homes and the women in their fearful camp. It spoke a language, older than words, a language of memory, of belonging. Slowly, hesitantly, they began to walk. Drawn by the familiar call, villagers from both sides converged on the meeting ground, their faces etched with hardship and regret. They were separate, yet they had answered the same call. As the sun climbed higher, the elder stood before the gathered people. He said nothing, but in his hands he held an ancient calabash, beautifully carved, with a handle on each side. It was a vessel of unity, meant to serve everyone. This one served us all. His voice was quiet, but carried across the silent crowd. He beckoned a man and a woman to come forward. He handed them the calabash. The man gripped one handle, the woman the other. Each, still clinging to their pride, pulled in the opposite direction, trying to claim it for themselves. The tension lasted only a moment before a sickening crack echoed through the silence. The calabash fell, shattering on the hard ground. The precious water it held spilled into the dust, absorbed in an instant. A collective gasp went through the crowd. The symbol of their unity was broken, its life-giving contents wasted. The elder knelt and picked up the broken pieces. He held them for all to see. This vessel, he said, his voice heavy with sorrow, was never meant for one hand. He turned to the men. You are father's husbands. You are the builders and the protectors. Then he turned to the women. And you are mothers, wives. You are the nurturers and the teachers. He looked out at all of them, his gaze piercing. One without the other is incomplete. You are not the separate halves, but the parts of a whole. Silence, a profound, aching silence broken only by the whisper of the wind, and then a sound of a different kind. A tear fell, then another. The hard shells of pride and resentment began to crack and fall away. Revealing the raw regret beneath, men and women knelt on the dusty earth without a word. They reached for the broken pieces of the calabash. Hands that had once pulled apart now worked side by side, fitting the shards together, mending what they had broken. The journey back was not one of words, but of action. Together, they went to the river. The man and the woman who had dropped the calabash now lifted it as one. They dipped it into the water. As they raised it, not a single drop was spilled. It was whole again. Hope, clear and refreshing as the water itself, spread across their faces. The village was reborn. A montage of unity played out under the African sun. Homes were rebuilt, men and women working side by side. Councils were held, and this time, men listened as women spoke. Children's laughter, the truest measure of a village's health, once again filled the air. And as if the sky itself was weeping with joy, the rains began to fall. The thirsty land drank deeply, and the world turned green again as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. A single bird soared high above the reunited village. It flew with effortless grace, its two wings beating in perfect, balanced rhythm, for a bird needs two wings to fly. A home needs both a father and a mother. And a society, to truly thrive, needs both men and women equal in their immeasurable value, different in their vital roles, but forever united in purpose, because no one is greater together. We all rise.